Welcome, everybody, back to a new season of the Suffering Sports Fan Podcast. My name is Roy, and joining me is my son, Adam Avin. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. Longtime suffering Dolphins fans back to preview another year that we are trying to be cautiously optimistic for, I would say.
Well, you know what is very funny for anybody that followed? We were just kicking this off last year, and we ironically went into it with very high expectations because the previous year was really good. And we looked
Yeah,
at the schedule for last year, and and I still believe had Tua played, we start that season off 6-1, 5-2, something good, and then the season had
100%.
potential. We both predicted a ridiculous schedule, obviously Homer based of like 13-4, which was never going to happen. It was closer to 4 and
But
13
but
as it
we
turned
but we
out,
still
but
said that if Tua plays those 4 games that he misses, and let's say 3 of them become wins, you're looking at a 11 or 12 win season instead of the 8 wins that they had.
right,
So
and they make the
the
playoffs. I
schedule
mean,
it
it
it wouldn't it wouldn't have been that crazy, but I digress. I understand what you're saying.
So going into this season, it's as if the sky is falling, and on one hand, it kind of feels that way, but on the other hand, if you just keep telling yourself, if Tua plays, they win games. It's pretty
Yeah.
much that simple. The problem
Right.
is, how often is he going to play? And this is the cloud hanging over the team, among other things, which we'll get into. So you have actually been to Dolphins camp. We're going to start there a little bit, and why don't you kick off some, things to talk about as before we get to our schedule predictions, which we're going to do at the end.
Sure. Sure. So the first thing that we got to talk about before we talk about the actual outlook of the team at training camp so far this season. I've been quite a bit. I've seen them throughout OTAs and mini camp and now training camp for the fall. Um, this team addressed a lot of needs that were necessary this offseason. Chris Greer, despite what you want to say, he has not done a great job in the past of trying to find depth, but this year he did. Now, are they exactly the guys that can help you win a Super Bowl? That's yet to be seen. Probably not. But they did address a lot of needs this offseason. So they started in the draft. They got Jonah Savanea out of Arizona with their first pick in the draft, offensive lineman. He's going to most likely play right guard next to Austin Jackson or left guard next to Patrick Paul. So that's a rookie that you can slot in right away. He's practicing with the first team right now. They also went and signed James Daniels, who played right guard for the Steelers, has experience both interior and exterior offensive line, and Torres ACL last year. So Chris Greer signing a veteran who has played at a Pro Bowl caliber before, coming off an injury, got a little bit of a value discount this offseason. So they did address the offensive line. And if they are healthy this year, you need to expect that they'll be able to hold up better than in years past with so many injuries. That's one. Number two, Kenneth Grant on the defensive line is another guy that they address. Zach Sealer is still around at training camp despite a lot of conversations for contract extensions. The defensive line is together. They also went and signed Darren Waller this offseason, the tight end position addressed. And the reason they had to do that was because they went and traded Jonnu Smith, their lone Pro Bowler from last year, their starting tight end, to the Pittsburgh Steelers, along with Jalen Ramsey for a former Dolphin and Minkah Fitzpatrick. That kind of rounds out the offseason in terms of the key additions and key departures for the Dolphins. Now we can
So
get into
a few
yes,
things on some of those additions and
sure,
subtractions. I
yes.
like bringing Minka back. I think Jalen Ramsey wasn't going to play this year. If they kept him, he
He
wasn't
never
going to do
played his
anything,
best in Miami and dealt with a
and he
lot of
wasn't great.
injuries.
Let's be honest.
He's still,
And
but
Minka, I
saying that
think,
he's
can be
not
great.
great says a lot. He's still a top 10 cornerback in football. I think that's very clear. It's not talking down on Jalen Ramsey as a player. He had his moments, but he was clearly banged up for the long portion of while he was in Miami, and didn't enjoy himself. And so when you have a guy like that who's trying to rehab and also play at a high level and also trying to fit in with the team, and be a leader in the locker room, he wasn't that. You shipped him out for a guy like Minka who wants to be here now, who wants to reunite in Miami and is still a Pro Bowl caliber, all pro caliber safety. And he's going to be the main anchor in the secondary.
The issue with the tight end, I think we all believe they should have tried to keep Jonnu Smith. I sort of get the financial things and why they didn't, but Darren Waller, I just am very skeptical. He was a very good player, but typically these players that sit out a year, that retire, that come back, he's already on the pup list. Like I don't know if that's going to be a thing, and then we're left with not very good tight ends. So we'll see how that plays out. We don't know. The
Right.
bigger concern of all of this, which I think you're going to get into, is just that the secondary is
Yeah.
decimated. I mean, they've lost. They went into it with already a very light and not a top tier number one quarterback. Although Cater Kohu is very good and has played well for this team, and he was going to be the top guy. Minka
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick obviously fills a void in safety, but then you go and you lose Cater for the season, and now you're
Right.
left scrambling, and that secondary is going to be a problem. There's no way about it.
So Mike McDaniel announced the other day that he dealt with a knee injury, went down in practice. They took a look a couple days after swelling went down, determined to be pretty bad. He's going to most likely need surgery, and he's going to be out for the whole year. I can tell you, being in the media room that morning in the press conference, the second he took almost a pause and then said the words "out for the season," and there was, if you go back and listen to the stream of the press conference from this week. It was Wednesday morning, July 30th. Um, you will hear I'm sure you will hear the audible of the air being
Yeah.
taken out of the room. I mean, there was an audible gasp, and not because it's not even because we're frustrated. It's just even the media knows that he was the guy, right? And the Dolphins have signed other cornerbacks and other members to join the DB room this offseason. Those were good additions enough to the point where they could be complementary next to Cater Kohu, not stand alone as starters without him. And that's the big issue right now. We know that Cater Kohu's he plays more nickel. He covers the slot really well. But we've also seen him go up against the top wide receivers for other teams, like a Garrett Wilson, for example, or Devontae Adams last year, and got torched. Right. So you see both sides of it, but you're going to miss him in that nickel slot. And you're going to miss his presence in the locker room. I talked with Cam Smith. He's going to be a third-year player for the Dolphins now. This year has yet to really see strong time on the field, and he talked about that he needs to step up as a leader for the team, and that they're going to miss Cater a lot. But it's next man up, right? So now let's get into training camp a little bit, and I think that's a good transition because the secondary in camp so far, and again, it's not like we're really beating around the bush. They've been diced up in camp by Tua. I
Yeah.
mean, by Zach Wilson and by Quinn Ewers, who has had a pretty good training camp so far as well. But specifically, when we talk about Tua, this secondary cannot compete right now with how he's throwing the ball. Now, a lot of the cornerbacks so far, Storm Duck, who's looking to be a protected starter, Ethan Bonner, has
Storm
gotten
Duck's going
time
to
on
be
the
the
field
top
as
guy.
well. Right. Those two have made some plays, not enough to where you can stop him. Now, more specifically, Tua has not thrown an interception all camp. We're going on almost 2 weeks now. He's thrown in upwards of 8 touchdowns, I believe. He has looked elite in this camp. And I know that they just put the pads on a little bit ago. They're going to get back to full speed. But there is no doubt in my mind that if he's on the field and throwing the ball the way that I've seen him throw the ball this offseason, this is not a homer thing. You cannot find a better quarterback right now in the league outside of Tua. For all these Dolphins fans screaming, you need to go get another guy. He's not the guy. I'm telling you right now, he's the guy. Because outside of the top 4 of Burrow, Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen, not in any particular order, you can debate those 4. Those are the top 4. Outside of those, every other quarterback needs help to win. And they have done what they've needed to do this offseason, especially with the offensive line, investing some money into it and drafting to protect your quarterback. And so far into his career, Chris Greer has failed him. But right now, with the way that he's throwing the ball, he looks great. He's in the best shape he's ever been, so he says. And he's slicing up this Dolphins secondary, which is not a good thing.
Well,
And so
that's
that
not.
has
Yeah,
so those two things have been the biggest things to take note of so far this offseason.
I think that based on the defense and how the offense looks like it's going to be better, the offensive line. We're hearing good things about Patrick Paul,
Right.
and Austin Jackson
Patrick
really came
Paul
into his own last year.
looks great. Yeah.
I think the offensive
Yeah.
line's going to be better. Devon Achane's going to be better. We got a couple other running backs, Jalen Wright. I think the offense is going to come back to form.
Sure.
If Tua's
Sure.
healthy, I think they're going to be okay. They may need to score 35 points a game to win, and we'll see. We'll see if that happens.
Well,
Now, the one strength
sure.
on this team, which we should mention, is the defensive line, or the front seven, actually, which
Yes.
is filled with a lot of really good players, and maybe they get enough pressure throughout each game to give the
Right.
secondary a fighting chance.
Right. I mean, sure. Let's talk. I want to touch on that for a second because it's true. The linebackers, the defensive edges on this team, interior defensive linemen are very good. Um, for any quarterback in the league, if you have Chop Robinson, who led all rookies in sacks last year, Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, who are two of the best pass rushers in the league when healthy, plus Kenneth Grant and Zach Sealer on the interior, and then you have Jordan Brooks, Tyrell Dodson, or Willie Gay, who they stole from the Chiefs this offseason, as that front 7 or 8 guys. That is really, really good. You should be able to stop the run better. The pass rush will be very good. Those are not guys you want to face. Again, it all banks on health because we know a lot of those guys have dealt with injuries in their own right. But if they are healthy, that will be very, very good. The issue is when you go against the other top quarterbacks who the Dolphins all play this year, Lamar, Burrow, Baker, Jaden Daniels, guys who get the ball out so fast, doesn't always matter how good your front seven is because if those corners can't cover anybody, those quarterbacks are going to find ways to escape the pocket, to make a crazy throw, because the wide receivers for their team will be wide open and our corners won't be able to cover them. So that is the one worry. But you're right. The defensive line, the linebacking core is very good, and you have to feel very solid about those two. Now, I want to touch on one more thing before we move on to the schedule. The wide receivers, and I know we still have two up on the screen. This is the guy that needs to be talked about right now. He's clearly going through a lot. He's been in and out of camp, excused for personal reasons. We've already heard the comments. We don't have to talk about it between Tua and Tyreek and how the chemistry needs to be there and how Tyreek's trying to essentially earn the respect back of a lot of players on the team after essentially quitting at the end of last year. Tua and Waddle look perfect. I mean, the connection is there. Nick Westbrook-Akina is being essentially used like Jonnu Smith in short yardage plays, a lot of 10-yard curls right around the first down, quick throws like that. Malik Washington has emerged as a guy that everybody really likes. Tyreek needs to step up. All the other guys are putting in the work, and I think that this wide receiver room, despite what you want to say about it in previous years, is actually pretty deep this year. And the fact that Tua is rarely missing a throw at all this offseason, I don't care who the cornerbacks are, he is finding his receivers the ball. And I'm hoping that for the rest of the preseason, for the next couple of weeks, him and Tyreek can get back on the same page. Because if they can, I think the offense has the potential to be really, really good. And once again, return to their form of one of the top passing offenses in the league. But do not be surprised at all. This has both football and fantasy football implications if Jalen Waddle emerges this year as one of the top targets in the league, because he looks like he's the healthiest and in the best shape that he's ever been in. So I
Well,
hope
he's also a
Tyreek
guy
can play
that,
really well. But Tua and Waddle together, the connection right now is at maybe at its peak in their time together so far.
but Waddle is a guy that also has had trouble staying healthy. So, look,
Sure.
I think Tyreek has said all the right things. He's trying to be accountable. He's trying to make amends with the team.
Right.
Tua's coming out as a leader, and
Right.
calling him out. Maybe they'll fix all that. And look, last year was just weird, man. You started with
Yeah.
him getting arrested right at the beginning of the first game. Two
Yeah.
games
I mean,
later, Tua goes down two
doomed
games
forever.
later. The
Right.
whole season was just snake bit, and this team has a
Right.
history of just being snake bit, and that's I guess let's get into the schedule because there's an opportunity here for this team to start off really strong. It's a very, very difficult schedule, but it's
Right.
favorable in the beginning. So let's just run through it a little bit.
Sure. You want to give your schedule
And
prediction?
Yeah, all right. All right. So look, I'm gonna go based on Tua being healthy, and
Me
that's how
too.
we're gonna determine this schedule. If
That
he's not healthy, it kind of
to
doesn't even
all
matter at that
look,
point.
I've been having this debate a lot with people recently who say health is the only thing that matters. I'm like, yeah, obviously. I no more. I used to be a big Tua health defender. I think, especially in 2023 after he played all 17 games and led the league in passing yards, I was like, he figured it out. He's good. And then we saw what happened last year. I can no longer defend that. We understand the severity of the head injuries and everything else. But it is proven that when he plays 13 or more games, this is a playoff team. In 2022, 2023, this team was good enough to get there. It's just a matter of him staying on the field. And I find it pretty indisputable that outside of that top four quarterbacks who can win games on their own, he is as good as those other quarterbacks in that 10 to 15 range, to where if he's healthy and has the right pieces around him, they can win games, right?
All right.
So
So
you look at the beginning of the schedule,
let me
go
let me
ahead.
let me do it. Okay. So on the road against
Right.
a team that doesn't know who their quarterback is going to be, they are a decent team with a pretty good defense, but I'm gonna give us a win on that. We're going into that game healthy with
Sure.
an offense
All
that
right.
knows what it's doing. They don't have a
All right.
quarterback that's going to tear us apart. So that's
Right.
that's one win. Then we're
You're
coming
1 and
back
0.
down here. We're coming back down here to Miami. Tua always beats the Patriots, and it's going to be in the
Yeah.
hot sun at 1 o'clock. I
Right.
really think this team, you're going to know what this team is based on these first two games. These are two
Yeah.
games that are absolutely winnable. If they start off
Right.
2-0, we have a chance to have, we'll see how it goes. But if
Right.
they start off 0-2 in those two games, we're in for a long, long, terrible season.
Right.
Um,
Right.
the
You got
Buffalo
it, bud.
game on Thursday night after a short week, that just is setting up to be a
Don't even
terrible
try.
loss.
Don't even try.
And frankly, I wouldn't even play Tua in that game because Thursday night games against Buffalo, or even Thursday
He
night games in general,
always hurt.
are bad for him. So just
Always.
sit him in that game.
Plays
Let
play
Zach
Zach
Wilson
Wilson, who
play,
has had a history of beating the Bills.
who has
Right. It's not a
beaten the
bad idea.
Bills before. That's
Not a
and
bad
then
idea.
and then just say Tua has a pulled hamstring, and then just move on. So let's say we're
Right.
two and
Right.
one.
100%.
Monday Night Football. I'm gonna get at home. Okay, I'm gonna put the Jets at home as a win, so 3-1.
Okay.
And
3 and
look,
1.
again, I hate to be Homer guy here, but you're at home against uh
You're on the
which is
road.
no, now you're on the road against the Panthers, but it's the Panthers. So I don't
Who
know.
who
I
by
feel
the
like
way
that's a
have
win.
have him they ended on last year on a hot streak, but I still think the Dolphins get this game.
So I feel like that's a win. That's 4-1. Then we get the
Yeah.
Chargers at home. We beat the Chargers. I like Tua against Herbert.
Yeah.
I just do. I think the Chargers will be formidable,
Now,
but they
yes.
had a really easy schedule last year. People are sipping the Chargers Kool-Aid. They beat only bad teams all last year for their winning record. Look
Not
at the
wrong at all.
schedule.
Not wrong.
So so
However, you know what? I'll bring up my Chargers
yeah,
point
yeah.
later on. But
Okay.
so
Now
right
we're
now
looking at
you're
okay,
at
listen.
5-1 through 6.
I'm at 5-1. This is how stupid the schedule. This is. I know we're not doing this, but I'm just gonna like we're 5-1. Then we
Sure.
got the Browns. The Browns may be the worst team in all of football.
Yeah.
So
Right.
now what are we? 6-1.
6 and
What
1
are we?
through
5
7.
and 1, 2, 3.
6.
We're 6 and
6 and
1.
1. Yeah.
And then we got the Falcons, who also suck. So, but that's 2 games on the road. I'm gonna say we lose that one just because I can't
Okay.
fathom being 7-1. All right, so we're 6-2. All right, we're gonna lose. That's a valid. That's a possible start as long as Tua's healthy. I think with that
Okay.
schedule. But now the schedule becomes really, really hard. So you got a
Sure.
Thursday night against Baltimore. It is at home, but I think we're gonna lose that. So that's
Yeah.
6-3. Buffalo
Yeah.
at home. You know, I think,
Don't even do it.
hear me out. 1 o'clock games
Oh, come on.
against Buffalo are the only ones where we ever win. That's it.
Okay.
The last few
Okay.
years, they've all been
You're
at
not
night.
wrong.
They've all been in the cold. They've all been in whatever.
Yeah.
1 o'clock afternoon game. That's the
Yeah.
only thing we can.
Yeah.
So
In
I'm going to say
2020, in 2020, in
if we're going to
2023,
be any good, you gotta beat Buffalo once. You got
okay.
to. So we're okay. So I'm going to give us that win 7-3. We're going to lose to Washington because we're just going to Spain. We're going to lose 7-4. Bye week. Saints. Is that a home game? Saints at home. We're going to win that. That's 8-4.
I mean,
8-4 by
the
now would
Saints,
be amazing.
the Saints might be a lock for a top 3 pick next year.
Yeah, we
Like,
play a
like
lot of the
easily.
worst teams, but we
Them
also
and the
play a lot of the
Browns.
best teams. Now
Right.
here's the problem. We got the Jets on the road. I think the Jets are still going to stink. I'm giving us that game 9-4.
Fair.
Then I think I'm not a fan of Pittsburgh. I don't think they're going to be great, but I think we're going to lose that game because it's just
It's in the cold.
Monday Night Football in the cold. What are
In
we at?
December.
9-5. Am I at? Okay. Then we
Yeah.
got a home game against the Bengals. Even though it's at home, I think we're losing that game. We're 9-6.
9-6.
Bucks at home. Man, that's a tough one because I think Baker could destroy us. And I think we're at 9-7. See, this is the problem with every Dolphin
Right.
season is that it ends
Yeah.
in massive losing streaks.
Right.
9-7. This is the Dolphin season, and I really think it has the potential to end up like this. The last game of the season, the Patriots are going to be half decent. Maybe they're at 8 wins this point themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're 9-7. We need to go to New England and win that game to be 10-7 and make the playoffs.
Right.
I'm going to say we do. I'm going to say we're 10-7. But there's every chance that what I'm saying is we're 9-7. We go to New England. We lose that game. We end up 9-8. That's 100% real possibility. But I'm going to say 10-7 with this schedule.
All right. All right. Let's see my schedule. See, I don't want to pick all the same thing as yours. But
you could just say where you disagree.
Right. It's hard to disagree. All right. So I'm going to run through the first two. Colts and Patriots are both wins. I do think that the team starts 2-0. Again, depends on health. You have the Patriots at home. When Tua plays against the Patriots, especially at home, it typically goes in the Dolphins' favor. I know that's a conference game, and for the Dolphins to play all 3 divisional opponents, in the first 4 weeks shows a lot. You need those wins, especially when it comes down to a wild card spot at the end of the year. I think they start 2-0. That week 3, you talked about it. Bench Tua. We don't even try. I mean, week 3 and 4, right? Like it was the tight ends week 4, right? Concussion. And then last year, again, it was like enough. Please stop it.
I kind
That's
of think the season hinges on that Buffalo game in the beginning of the season. Like,
me too.
Honestly, he could go down and then it's done.
Right. Sure. Yeah. I mean, from a health perspective, I think if I'm expecting them to lose that game, so I don't think it hinges the season on, a win or loss perspective, but from a health perspective, 1000%. The Jets at home, I think they win that game. So that's you're looking at 3-1 right now. The Panthers are a team that are actually on the rise. I think they're a pretty good team. They ended last year on a hot streak. They almost beat the Chiefs. They kept a lot of really good teams really close. But if we remember when they played the Dolphins 2 years ago, the Panthers went up 14-0 in the first 5 minutes of the game, and then the Dolphins hung 45 points on them. I don't think maybe that'll happen again. It might be a closer game, but I think the Dolphins win. The Chargers is an interesting one to me. And let me explain why. The Dolphins play a lot of really good running backs this year. And the Chargers are an interesting one to me because the offensive line is really good. And Jim Harbaugh loves running the ball. And they just drafted a guy, Amarian Hampton, out of North Carolina, one of the best, maybe the best all-time running back from that program, career leader in yards, had 1,000 last year. He's 6'2". He's a big guy. This Dolphins team has struggled against the run in recent years. This is not the same team that they played 2 years ago when Tua hung 400 yards on them and it came down to the wire week 1 and the Dolphins walked away with a win on the road. Yes, they're at home, But I think this is outside of the Bills. I'm expecting that Bills game to be a loss, but I think this Chargers game is going to be their first real test. I'm with you. I don't think the Chargers are that good, but I'm also trying to be more realistic this year about my expectations. I'm going to think about this game like I do most games with the Miami Heat, in the sense that Eric Spoelstra can outcoach anybody. And Mike McDaniel does not do well against good coaches. Jim Harbaugh's a good coach, despite what you want to say about the team and their schedule last year. I think he's going to just run the ball down the Dolphins' throats, and it's going to be the test, and we're going to see if that run defense is good enough to stop the other top running backs that they see later in the year. So,
but isn't the advantage to throw against us if you're Herbert in that particular game? I mean, wouldn't that be the advantage?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because the Dolphins, especially last year, had a history of, I mean, they were one of the worst rush defenses in the league. I'm going to give this to the Chargers. I don't like it. I don't like the Chargers. I think Tua is better than
That's
Herbert.
fair.
I will be an all-time defender on that. However, I think that's going to be a win. So we're at 4-2 right now through 6 weeks. I think the Browns are a win. I think they're one of the worst teams in football. I don't care who their quarterback is or how good Myles Garrett is. That is going to be a win. So now we're at 5-2 through 7 weeks.
So you're going to give them the Falcons win probably and be 6-2 where I was. We just did a different game.
Now this one is on the road, so that it raises a little bit more concern. But a couple things about the Falcons is, you look at Michael Penix, a guy who is very similar to Tua. He's not great at finding his third read, similar to Tua, right? He likes to throw to spots. Michael Penix last year with Drake London was great. They also like to run the ball with Bijan a lot. But if we've seen anything from Tua, again, we're banking on the fact that he's healthy. And this Dolphins offense is that he plays good in domes. He plays good in no conditions, right? Because nothing phases him. Say what you want, but he can stand in the pocket and throw down your throat. He can.
And that defense is not supposed to be very good, the Falcons. So
you're right. They'll be fine. I think that's a win. I think we're 6-2 heading into week 9. Now these 3 games are 3 straight losses. I don't even have to go into them. I think the Ravens, yes, you have 3 technically home games here. I think the Ravens on Thursday Night Football again. You don't want to see Lamar Jackson in primetime and Derrick Henry. Again, we're going to see how the run defense is this year, but I think that's a loss. The Bills, despite it being at home, and you bring up a good point about the 1:00 game, 2023, it was week 3. Tua leads a drive. They go ahead. Josh Allen can't complete the game-winning pass in that game, and the Dolphins end up beating the Bills. The lone win for Tua and McDaniel in their tenure together so far against Buffalo. I don't care until they do it again.
Fair.
Until they do it again, I can't say it's a win, so it's a loss. So now we're at 6-4, and you're going to Spain against a Washington team that's really good. Yes, they have a Terry McLaurin situation going on. That's a loss. Jaden Daniels is a very good quarterback. I'm not a quick person to rank rookies in the top 5 or top 10. I'm a wait till you see them for a year 2, year 3 type of guy. He was so incredibly good and led so many clutch drives last year. It was something that you don't see. He might come back down
a little bit,
but he is such a threat. I think those are 3 losses. You are at 6-2 heading into week 9. You go into the bye week 6-5, right? I think totally possible. You beat the Saints in week 13. I think you beat the Jets in week 14. You're back to 8-5. Now these 2 games are tricky. I hate the idea of going into Pittsburgh in the cold. I think you lose that game. But I think if you need to make the playoffs, you have to win one of these games. And I think that this Bengals game on Sunday Night Football in week 16 can be very similar to that Cowboys game from a couple of years ago, the season Tua played the full year. At night, in their conditions, maybe more of a defensive game. These are 2 teams that can put up a lot of points when healthy and have their pieces there. I think the Dolphins might win that game. against the Bengals. I
It's
do.
possible.
As silly as it is, it'd be nice if Jamar Chase wasn't available for that game because the Dolphins do not have the corners to cover him. But the Bengals' offensive line isn't that great. And I think that's a game where if you need to make the playoffs and you need to prove to people on prime time that you can do it after losing to the Bills twice and the Ravens and the Commanders, all primetime games, and the Steelers for that matter, you need to win this game.
So you're
Right?
at 9 and
So
6 with 2 more left.
yeah, I was 6-5 going into the bye week. And then you're 8-5 after that Jets win.
So we're about the same. I think I was 9 and 7. I think I was 9 and yeah.
I'm 9-6 right now. 9-6 with 2 games left. I think you lose that Bucks game. I think they steal that Bengals one. I think you lose to the Bucks. I think Baker and their receiving core is just too good, and they also have Bucky Irving and Rashad White. That's a very, very good offense. Again, not a great defense, but I think the offense is too good. They were hot last year. I think that's a win, and I think you beat. I lost. And I think you beat the Patriots at home.
So you're 10 and 7.
Despite it being on the road and not at home, I think you win that game. I think you're looking at 10 and 7. Now, obviously, we're trying to be more realistic and expect injuries and make up for certain losses and things. But I really believe that if that team is healthy, I think 9 games, a 9-win season should be your floor. Really.
I will say one thing. I haven't done a complete analysis of this, but it's something that I want to do. But in the last 4 years with Tua and McDaniel, maybe 3 years, whatever it is, all of the hard games have been on the road. Almost all of them. We always split with Buffalo, but we always play.
Right.
They've Kansas City, the Baltimore, Green Bay. Any difficult game has been on the road, and it's or in the freezing cold or all these. We have a favorable schedule in that we play a lot of hard teams, but all of our hard games are at home.
Most of them, with the exception of Pittsburgh, I'd say in the cold. I
but
think
yeah, okay, but Pittsburgh is not a world beater really. I think the weather is what kills you there. But you got the Chargers, Baltimore, Washington is a neutral site game. You got the Bengals and the Bucks all at home. That gives you at least a chance or a better chance at winning some of those games. And so I think that's where, if they're healthy, they have a chance to be okay. But it would absolutely not surprise me if they're 8-9 or 9-8 again. That's where but I don't think this is a 5-win team. I don't.
Me neither.
I don't see it.
Look, if we go quickly, position by position, the quarterback room is good. If Tua does go down, you have Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers, who I'm not a big Quinn Ewers guy. If he comes into the game, he's better than Skylar Thompson and the guys that we've had in the past. Zach Wilson, I've seen him in camp. He zips the ball. He might throw a few interceptions, but he might throw 3 touchdowns, right? Like that's the duality of him. I think the quarterback room is solid. The running backs, you have Achane, you have Jalen Wright, you bring in Alexander Madison as a power back, you have Alec Ingold there as a fullback. It's good. The wide receivers, if Tyreek and Waddle and Malik Washington are there, it's good. Tight end is the only issue. Waller is still not practicing, and Julian Hill is the worst player on this team. Not close. The offensive line, I think with the departure of Teron Armstead, it has improved in other areas, so I'm excited to see what they can do. I think the defensive line is good. I think the linebackers are good. I think the safeties are solid now with Minka. Jason Sanders is still around. Really, the bad part of this team is the secondary. Can the cornerback room compete, and can they hold up with guys like with all the guys, Zay Flowers and Jamar Chase and Mike Evans and DK Metcalf
one last
and all
thing.
these guys
One last thing we got to touch on.
One
last thing we got to touch on too, though. McDaniel's got to up his game a little bit. This is a good team
outside of one position group.
McDaniel's got to up his game a little bit. It can't just be, they've done a cover 2. They're stopping Tyreek. That's the end of the offense. It can't be that. He's got to up his game, and he's got to figure out some other things. And please, don't do the thing where you're throwing 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage, screen pass thing. I can't see it anymore. I'd rather you punt on 3rd down than see that play again.
This team
never works.
McDaniel has talked about a lot in a lot of his pressers, and what they wanted to do this year was really build up the lines and the interiors of the both offensive and defensive lines and build up that run game. It was important. It was a point of emphasis this offseason. They wanted to get bigger in the trenches because they know that when they didn't have a run game last year and defenses just did a little too high safety thing or did a little cover 3 and blocked off any potential big plays of Tua and Tyreek and Waddle, right? They know everything's going to be up close. It was predictable. And even when they tried to do the cute stuff, it wouldn't work. So this year, point of emphasis, run the football. It opens up for the passing game for Tua, and stay healthy. And if they can do those couple of things, again, wishful thinking and asking for a lot. But if there's any way to put a bow tie on this episode and our preview of the upcoming season as suffering longtime Dolphins fans is, oh my God, Tua, please stay healthy and we will be fine and just make the playoffs. Just make the playoffs. Win a playoff game. That's all we want. Okay? We're not going to win the Super Bowl.
Please,
just make the playoffs and win a playoff game, please. Stay healthy.
Yeah, just don't run the ball. Just just take a sack.
Throw the ball away.
It's
Throw the ball away.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Well, yeah. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Hopefully this season at least we're in it and we keep doing these episodes because a fair point is that we bailed about halfway through. But we're at it again. And hopefully Tua's around and we get to cheer for this team. All right, we'll see y'all again real soon. Bye-bye.
All right.